Good morning, it's today again. Welcome back to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph, and I store 20% of my income in the form of rare coins and precious metals. If you're new to American Silver Eagles or are looking for a challenge in your stack, you might be interested in learning that there are more than just one version. Yes, there were design changes that makes multiple types, but there are also multiple finishes. Multiple different minting processes and even special variations that can change how collectors stack and view them. Today I want to walk through all the different types of Silver Eagles, the Bullion Strike, Proof, Reverse Proof, the Privy minted versions, and even the Type 1A and Type 1B that no one ever seems to talk about. Congratulations to Master of Metals for being the first comment on yesterday's video. Find him down below to start a conversation in the comments. The American Silver Eagle has been produced since 1986. Every coin contains 1 troy ounce of 3/9 fine silver. The design has evolved slightly over time, but the foundation remains the same. Lady Liberty on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse. It's the same silver, the same basic concept, but the finish, the way the coin was prepared and struck, changes everything visually and often in terms of collectability. So let's start with the foundation, the Bullion Strike. This is what most people picture when they hear Silver Eagle. The Bullion version is struck primarily for investors. These coins are produced in large quantities and sold through authorized purchasers who distribute them into market. They're not sold directly to collectors in the boxes with certificates. They're made to meet the demand for physical silver ownership. When you tilt a Bullion Strike under the light, you'll see what's called a cartwheel luster, that spinning light effect that moves across the surface. The planchets, which are the silver discs before they're struck into coins, are not specially polished for Bullion Strikes. The dies, the metal tools that stamp the design into the coin, are also not specially treated to create contrast. The coin is struck once on a high-speed press, and the result is bright and brilliant, but not mirrored. Before we move on to the next types, I'm going to need to define 2 terms that are important to understand, and I'm going to use this opportunity to upgrade a 1993 Eagle in my album. These 2 terms are devices and fields. Devices are the raised design elements on the coin, the things like the Lady Liberty, the eagle, the lettering and the stars, and anything that stands out above the surface. And the fields are the flat background areas behind those raised elements. If you look at Lady Liberty and then look at the smooth areas surrounding her, that smooth background is called the field. This distinction matters a lot when it comes to the different finishes because one of the biggest goals between these finishes is to create contrasts between the fields and the devices. So once we do get to the proof and reverse proof examples, we will mostly be looking at these 2 areas. And again, before we move on, let's finish up the topic of the Bullion Strikes. If someone was to put together an entire date run of the Bullion Strike American Silver Eagles, including Type 1 and Type 2, that now comes out to 42 coins from 1986 all the way until 2026, including the Type 1 and Type 2 reverses in the year 2021 when they made that transition. I am personally only missing the 2026 Bullion Strike American Silver Eagle. Alright, let's finally move to the Proof Strike. When you hold a Proof Silver Eagle next to the Bullion Strike, the difference is immediate. Proof coins have deep mirrored fields and frosted devices. That contrast between the 2 creates what collectors call a cameo effect. The background looks like a mirror and the raised design looks like a matte or frosted finish. Proof coins are made very differently. The planchets are specially polished before striking, and the dies are treated, often sandblasted or laser frosted in certain areas, to create that frosted texture in the devices. And instead of being struck once at a high speed, proof coins are typically struck multiple times under higher pressure to bring a sharper detail. Proof Eagles are often sold directly to collectors from the U.S. Mint. They come in presentation boxes which include certificates of authenticity, often called COAs, and they also carry a mint mark, such as a W for West Point or an S for San Francisco, and that mint mark indicates where the coin was struck. Because of the additional care in production and the lower mintages compared to bullion strikes, Proof Eagles can command a higher premium. However, this is typically only seen in the secondary market if it still has the original box and COA. The Proof Eagles are not designed for bulk stacking, they're more designed for preservation, display, and collection. The Proof American Silver Eagles were struck all the way from the beginning of 1986 until today in 2026. In addition, between 2017 and 2025, they were stuck at both the San Francisco Mint and the West Point Mint. Also, in 1995 and in 2012, they were struck in two mints. So between all the years and mint mark combinations for the Proof American Silver Eagles, there are actually 54 examples to collect. Now let's take it one step further, the reverse proof. A reverse proof flips the visual formula. Instead of mirror fields and frosted devices, the fields are frosted and the devices are mirrored. The raised elements, the liberty, the eagle, and the lettering, becomes the reflective part, and the background is a matte finish. When you tilt a reverse proof under the light, the effect is striking. The design almost glows because the devices reflect while the background absorbs light. The reverse proof eagles were first introduced in 2006 as a part of this 20th anniversary set. They're typically released as a part of a special set or limited edition program, not as a regular annual issue. Because of that, mintages are often even lower and they tend to be highly collectible. The production process is similar to proof coins in terms of care, polished planchets, specially treated dies, and multiple strikes, but the frosting is applied to the opposite areas. It's essentially a mirror image of the traditional proof finish. As it stands now, there are only 8 different years to collect in the reverse proof. Now we come to the burnished finish. This one is the one that often confuses people. Burnished silver eagles were introduced in 2006. They're not bullion coins and they're not proofs, they sit somewhere in between. The key difference is the preparation of the planchets. Burnished coins use specially treated planchets that are tumbled with a fine polishing media before striking. This gives a soft surface, a satin-like texture. The coin is then struck on a slower press with greater care than bullion, but it does not receive the mirror polish or the multiple strikes like a proof. The result is a smooth, matte, almost velvety finish across both devices and the fields. There's no deep mirror, there's no heavy cameo contrast. It's more refined than bullion, but more understated than a proof. A burnished eagle also carries the mint mark, typically W for West Point, and they're sold directly to collectors. As of now, there are 20 different burnished striped eagles. In 2009 and 2010, they skipped making these burnished eagles, but that was made up in 2008 and 2011, each with 2 different examples to collect. 2011 is the only burnished eagle to carry a mint mark that is not from West Point. There is one from West Point, but there's also one to carry the San Francisco mint mark. And in 2008, we have the Type 1A and the Type 1B. Early in the year of 2008, the U.S. Mint actually changed a small detail on the font of the United States and America. When you look closely, you can see what's called a serif on the bottom right-hand corner of the U. First, what I'm showing you is the lack of that serif, and then afterwards on this proof eagle, you can see that the serif is present. These minor detail changes usually just go unnoticed. However, in 2008, in the burnished example, they were accidentally struck with what's called the reverse of 2007 before they added that serif. The mint record shows that they actually minted 46,000 before changing the die, making this a specific type on its own, the 2008 Burnished with the reverse of 2007. This specific variety is a little bit more valuable than the reverse of 2008 because with the reverse of 2008, they made an additional $533,000. I will note that there is a typo in the 2026 edition of the Red Book when it comes to these two coins. They're mislabeled, and if you look back in further examples, the 2025 or 2024 version of the Red Book, you can see the correct title and mintage numbers. And finally, I know this isn't a finish per se, but I'm going to tell you about Privy marks. A Privy mark is a small additional symbol added to the coin's design. It doesn't change the finish, it doesn't change the silver content, it's simply just an extra mark, often commemorative, placed somewhere on the coin. Privy marks have shown up on silver eagles in both bullion strikes and proof strikes, and here's how it breaks down. On the bullion side, in 2020, the U.S. Mint released a silver eagle with a V75 Privy mark to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. This mark appeared on bullion coins, and because it was tied to a historic event, it became an instant collectible. In 2024, the U.S. Mint added a star Privy mark, and in 2025, the Mint followed up with a silver eagle that carries the silhouette of an eagle as a Privy mark. On the proof side, the U.S. Mint made Privy marks tied to the 250th anniversary of the armed forces. There's a Privy mark for the Army, the Navy, and the Marine Corps. This adds 6 more coins to our American Silver Eagle collection, creating a total of 110 different American Eagles to collect. You can now write me at Joseph's Reserves, 10160 Highway 242, Suite 800, number 401 in Conroe, Texas, zip code 77385. Make sure to include your information so I can write you back. If you liked today's video, make sure to go down and give it a thumbs up. Go into the comment section for any comments or questions. Please subscribe and share the video, but most of all, thank you so much for watching, and just remember, every ounce adds up, so no matter how small, just keep stacking.